everybody, it's John D from Retroware TV, and we're back for the second installment of our new series, RWTV Webcam Reviews, where we focus on video games that are based off of films, particularly old ones. Now, I'm going to talk about a game and a movie series that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Unlike The Last Starfighter in our last episode, you might be familiar with this film. It's Tron. Tron by Disney from 1982. Now, this is the UMD version, so as you can tell, it's barely been used. Now, Tron was very advanced for the time in 1982. Incredible use of special effects and the light cycles, the disc fights. I mean, all of it was particularly cool. And any of you who have been watching some of the leaked videos from this year's San Diego Comic-Con might have seen the trailer for Tron 2. It doesn't look very good, but it still is awesome to watch. Some people call it Tron 2. I call it Tra-2N. You just have to look at the logo. Now, when Tron came out, it was a movie about a young programmer named Kevin Flynn, who created some of the best video games, had created video games for this one corporation, and had his work stolen. So now he's relegated to just running his own arcade, where he's created some amazing arcade games as well. Now, he's decided that he wants to try to regain his fame, regain credit for the work he's done, so he tries to break into the mainframe of this very large computer system, this AI system, which then sucks him in, and then he's on light cycles and things like that. Now, Tron is a very cool film, ahead of its time, and everybody's looking forward to the sequel coming out in 2011, I believe, which makes it almost 30 years since the first one, but Jeff Bridges is still in it, so that's great. Now, along with Tron, of course, being a movie about video games, being a movie that uses technology in a way that was very cool for the early 80s, there were video games. Now, there were arcade games, and there was also a few home releases. There was Tron Deadly Discs, as I believe for Intellivision, and then for the Atari 2600, as well as Tron Maze-a-thon, if I'm not mistaken. But we're going to focus a little bit, along with those, on another game, Tron Adventures of Tron, for the Atari 2600, released by Mattel. For this behemoth right over here. Deadly Discs is a well-known game. It's highly regarded. This game, on the other hand, is not highly regarded. So we're going to take a look at it and see how it compares to some of the other ones. So just to remind you kids who are kind of young, not that I wasn't young at the time either, but in 1982 some of the greatest films came out along with Tron. There was also Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, which rhymes with Tron, and Blade Runner, my favorite film of all time. So think fondly when you think of 1982. Speak well. Take a look at this. So like I mentioned before, Tron came out in 1982 and was a movie about a programmer named Kevin Flynn. He worked for a corporation called Encom before a man named Dillinger stole his gaming ideas and his game programs and basically made Kevin lose his job. Kevin now works as an arcade manager and owner while living above the arcade himself, where he's created some of the games in there, such as a game called Space Paranoids. Kevin, wanting to restore his name and also receive credit for the games he did create, tries to break back into Encom and the Master Control Program, or the MCP. It's an artificial intelligence program where he knows that his name can be linked to the programs that he's created. MCP then grabs hold of him using some sort of laser ray, which then throws him into the world of Tron, which is where all the special effects take place, the light cycles, and everything else. He's forced to play gladiator-style games for Sark. Sark is Dillinger's counterpart in this artificial intelligence world. Most noticeably, there's a disc game that he plays, where he has to fight other programmers. Now, along with this movie, there were obviously games that came out for this, considering the movie is about games, and it's about a game programmer. There were arcade games as well as home console games. In fact, the arcade games were more successful than the film itself. Midway released two arcade games, one in 1982 and one in 1983. There was the original Tron arcade game, which consisted of 4 or so smaller games, and then Discs of Tron. Discs of Tron focused more on the disc combat part of the movie. On the home consoles, Tron first started appearing on the Intellivision. Mattel released Tron Maze-a-tron, which was a game sort of side-scrolling where you had to fight baddies, capture power-ups, and it was pretty much a forgettable title. Not a lot of replay value there. There was also Tron Solar Sailor, which used a voice synthesized chip, and Tron Deadly Discs, which simulated the disc combat within the movie. This was probably the most noticeable, most recognizable, and also most fun game out of the series. Tron Deadly Discs consisted of a tank-style play where you fought people by throwing what amounts to be a pixel on the screen. But the Intellivision version of the game was particularly good. That game was eventually ported over to the Atari 2600, which you can see here. The Atari 2600 version is not as graphically powerful, but it's still enjoyable to play, much more so than Adventures of Tron. Adventures of Tron was a standalone title that was released for the 2600 by M Network, a subsidiary company making games for Mattel. Adventures of Tron was a top-style platform kind of game similar to that of Donkey Kong. You keep grabbing these power-ups and these items that float by while avoiding the obstacles all around you until you clear everything from all the levels, until the bar in the middle of the screen glows, and then you slide down it to go to the next level. It was a pretty monotonous and repetitious game, but it was kind of fun a little bit. There's a lot of graphical elements on screen. It was pretty good for the Atari 2600, and in general, it made for an interesting experience. For the most part, Tron has been a successful endeavor in the gaming world more so than the film world. The Tron light cycle, the Tron disc, the look and feel of the film has been so ingrained in our pop culture psyche that it has even continued to appear in other games throughout the years. Other gameplay visuals and recognizable traits from the film have made their way into other games, including the most recent Kingdom Hearts, where there is a Tron world atmosphere. With Tron 2 being released in 2011, I'm sure we can expect even more incredible games to come out. But please stay tuned, because there are so many Tron games out there that I'm sure down the line we'll be doing another webcam review of yet another Tron game. So, until next time, guys.